Good evening, everybody. It's Steve with Real Progressives, and I'm going live on Periscope and Facebook right now. And tonight, being that it's just a wonderful Halloween evening, we're going to talk about this idea of burning it down, right? This idea that somehow or another, we've got all the time in the world to burn the whole thing down, build it in our own image, and then go ahead afterwards and hope and pray that we have all the right numbers and all the right people to create this perfect system after we've burned it all down. And we don't. Quite frankly, we do not have that kind of time. You know, from an environmental standpoint, we should all know that we don't have that kind of time. We're watching stuff happen in California. We're watching stuff happen in Texas and in the Virgin Islands, et cetera. We're watching things happen all over the world, okay? And what we really need to understand is that we need to be smart. Progressives need to be smart. And unfortunately, there are those in our movement right now that would rather buy into the give-up strategy. They would rather buy into that strategy that tells them, since we can't win anyway, let's just go ahead and burn it down. Let's just do nothing, basically. Let's just wring our hands and talk about how awful it was that we could never accomplish our goals. And what I'm here to tell you is that in talking with people like Howard Schweitzer of the Green Party, Howard Schweitzer, probably a really nice guy, maybe even a pretty good dancer for all I know. But this is a guy who is hell-bent on leveraging this AMI, American Monetary Institute, concept of full reserve banking. For those of you that don't understand what this means, it's basically trying to eliminate private credit from existing. It's from literally eliminating this from the banking system. Well, we should know, as progressives, we should definitely know that the idea of creating any form of prohibition creates black markets all the time. It creates very, very bad unintended consequences. Let's look at the marijuana industry for an example, if we need to look very far, or maybe even the alcohol industry, okay? What we need to do is we need to recognize that the system we have in place today, it really does work just fine, and we can use it in whatever socialist ideations we'd like. It doesn't stop us from creating co-ops, doesn't stop us from creating laws to bring about equality, it doesn't stop us from being able to do anything. In fact, what we can do today by understanding the fact that modern monetary theory is today, it's right here, right now, versus AMI, American Monetary Institute, which requires a complete departure from anything any of us know whatsoever. There's not nearly any support at any level to go with the NEED Act or to go with switching to the AMI full reserve banking approach. It has got no prayer in hell. And if it does have a prayer in hell, it requires so many steps, so many multiple steps to get there. And we're talking about way, way, way down the road. If we think we're ever going to achieve that, we're crazy. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So that leaves us with trying to understand the tools that have been used against us for the last 40 neoliberal years. And that brings us to modern monetary theory, which is a description of how our monetary system works today. And if we understand this, then we can tell people today that we have means to save their lives, to keep the earth inhabitable, so that we have a place to actually live, breathe clean air, breathe life abundantly, have green energy, actually drink fresh water. Here are opportunities for us to actually do the things that we say we want to do right here, right now. Unfortunately, we've got Howard Schweitzer, who is sitting there willing to burn the entire Green Party to the ground, make them irrelevant by pushing this nonsensical NEED Act, by pushing this nonsensical full reserve banking, by pushing every single conspiracy that we've ever grown known and hate and don't want to deal with. Okay, nonsense. The whole progressive give up strategy on tap, something that pushes our success 50 hurdles down the road, if ever. My friends, it requires a man of humility to accept when what they're fighting for is wrong, to change course and to embrace truth. Right now, the Green Party does not have an economic platform that can do anything to satisfy its Green New Deal. Its entire approach, if they're honest with you, will tell you that the steps that they need to take in order to achieve any of the things that they say they want to achieve, every single one of those steps put you years down the road. Now, if you actually believe in climate science, if you actually believe that we are in trouble in a big way right here, right now, you know that we don't have 30, 40, 50 years to screw around trying to get these little games played. You know that we don't have that time. So the Green Party must acknowledge that they don't have a plan for changing the economy to match the reality of what we need today. They cannot get there with the AMI, greening the dollar, democratize the dollar, end the Fed, do all these things. They cannot get there from here. They cannot get there from here. And we want the Green Party to be successful. We do. We need the Green Party to be successful. This is not about bashing the Green Party. You'd have to be an idiot to think that. No, this is about making the Green Party, who has the wonderful Green New Deal, be able to achieve that Green New Deal. Because not only does the Green Party have to end the Fed, green the dollar, do all these things before they do the very first thing that we can do right here, right now. Not only that, but they got to get people elected at every level in order to achieve any of that. Right now, there is enough of a progressive push that if we take the community of progressives and we educate them on modern monetary theory, and we teach them the way our current system works today, but is being used against us, and we teach them how to use it today to achieve these bold plans, we can create a tsunami of support. And when you see the Democrats themselves not supporting it, when you see these other groups not supporting it, it will only strengthen the coalition that is outside the duopoly. And it will give people within the duopoly the strength of conviction to push for greater things as well. Once they realize that they are no longer in a situation that they can deny or turn their head away from these things, at that point, then we can win. Then we can win. So it's Halloween, and for the party poopers out there, I've got on Facebook, I got a thing with a mummy and some Frankenstein thing. It's meant to be fun. If it's bugging you, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. And down there in Periscope world, you just get a high def view and it's beautiful, but you don't have the mummies. Sorry about that. So in any event, if you want to see the Green Party successful and you want to see a progressive agenda passed, whether it be through the Dem Enter fools pushing their method, whether it be the Dem Exit people within the coalition, or whether it just be straight Green Party, you need to have a coherent economic message that allows you to achieve broad, bold goals. Broad, bold goals today, not in 50 years, not after you transition to some new money system, not after you end the Fed, not after you do 100 other things. If you don't pay attention to anything else that I say, ask yourself, do the poor have time to wait for the Green Party to A, elect enough Greens, 2, get enough Greens to get enough support to end the Fed, and then on top of ending the Fed, go ahead and then issue the NEED Act, or as I like to call it, the I Still Don't Need Act, and then find all this support to end the fractional reserve system, which ended in 1933, my friends. Okay? If you want to wait for all that before you get Medicare for all, before you get student debt relief, before you get green energy, before you get an infrastructure bill, before you get anything, you've got to do all these things, because the Green Party in their very own platform, Section M, tells you that they are petrified of the national debt. Just like the Pete Peterson Foundation, the Koch brothers, and the right wing. No joke. I wouldn't say this if it wasn't true. I'm telling you this because in order for the Green Party to ever be successful, they need to kick the dummies out. They need to shut that shit down. They need to shut that part down, or they can't achieve great things. And they are there to create great things. They have the ability to do great things, but they've got this myopic block. And then when you try and discuss it with them, here's what they'll do. They'll give you a cut and paste straight out of the AMI website. That's it. Or straight out of the Green Party platform. Here you go. Here's the section. Here's a cut and paste. Here's a link. And that's that. There is no discussion because they can't stand on their own 2 feet when it comes to stuff, because they don't understand economics. Not everybody does. But for God's sake, your friggin' party, you should have people in your platform that have a thorough, rich, deep understanding of economics. They do not. They don't. And that's a problem. That's a big problem, because progressives, green, blue, independent, purple, whatever, we all largely agree on the issues. We want green energy. We want health care. We want student debt relief. We want free college. We want to end the drug war. We want to do all kinds of stuff that we all agree to, every last one of us. We want to end patriarchy. We want to end racism. We want to end all these things. We want to create fair and even workplaces to give people equal opportunities. We want these things, right? I do. So the issue isn't whether we agree on most of these issues, because most of us do. Socialism's a spectrum. You're never getting any full 100% this or full 100% that. At most, we're going to get is some form of democratic socialism to transition to wherever we're heading. So all these puritanical beliefs, these religious beliefs that people throw out there, when you test them, when you challenge them, when you ask them, how are you giving me green energy today? How are you giving me these things? They can't answer it because they can't do it with their current setup. And that, my friends, is a very, very scary Halloween message, if there ever was one. The Democrats play lip service. Most of their people, if Bernie doesn't say it, they won't listen to you because they only respect their heroes. They have no interest in learning. They only respect their heroes. So if you don't get their hero to say it, it's not going to be something they care about. So it's got to be something that people that are enlightened, that understand, bubble this stuff up to the top. That's it. That's our choices. Or we die. That's it. We die. Green energy and fix the environment now, not 50 years from now, or we die. It seems pretty open and shut to me. We don't need to bring about the Venus Project because, God damn, we can't even get people to understand that the current system we have doesn't require taxes per se to pay for things. Taxes are important, but they don't actually fund anything at the federal level. If you can't get people to understand that most basic concept, how in the world are you going to recreate some new system? How are you going to build some new system? The people don't even understand the basic one they have today. How in the world will you create a new system with people that can't grasp the basics of monetary sovereignty? How can you do that? How? You can't. And that's the problem. The left has always had this laundry list of orphan politics they support. This laundry list of things that they support. And guess what? They can't answer the simple question, how are you going to pay for it? They can't answer it. Oh, we're going to tax Wall Street. We're going to tax the rich. We're going to soak the rich. We're going to eat the rich. It's not happening that way. First of all, we always forget that there's a Republican Party over there, albeit a bastardized one. And every single one of those Congress critters has signed the Norquist Pledge. The Norquist Pledge. What does it say, folks? It says you're not going to raise taxes for any reason under the sun. You're not going to raise a nickel of taxes. And if you do, they're going to primary you. They're going to cut your funding. So again, we always forget there's these Republicans over there. But guess what? There are many conservative Democrats, boll weevils. That, okay, we take over the Democratic Party, you Dementers. Now all of a sudden the boll weevils go over there and vote red along with their kindred in the Republican Party. And what do you got? You got a situation where you got to answer questions because they don't want the taxes going up. And they don't need to go up. That's the thing. The left can't get their friggin' head wrapped around. You build huge coalitions with normal human beings that want to save their children, that want a clean planet, that want a planet to be here tomorrow, that want green energy. Not friggin' people that have these pet ideas. Well, I'd like to get rid of money altogether. I'd really like to get rid of money altogether. Because if we get rid of money altogether, then we can, what? What can you do then? You have to change the way every human being on the planet thinks to even function. That, please, have respect. My children deserve to live, whether you know them or not. Your kids deserve to live, whether I know them or not. It's important that you start thinking, because thinking has been absent in the progressive movement for far too long. We ideate. We allow the people that are our oppressors to dictate the terms of how it's going to be. We couldn't unify over whether the sky is blue or not. That's terrible, but true. People are more steeped in this Robin Hood tax idea than actually learning how federal finance works, which is simple as shit. It's really not hard. The tough part is it violates what you've been saying for the last 100 years. Something happened in 1971, folks. Richard Nixon removed us from the Bretton Woods Accord. In 1971, we became a free-floating, non-peg, non-convertible, sovereign fiat currency. We had full monetary sovereignty at that moment. At that moment. And since that time, we've actually cut spending, except for in the military. And we pushed us to private debt. And so Wall Street keeps climbing and climbing and climbing because we have financialized our existence. And the people that have the Benjamins to invest aren't you and I. They're not regular people. That's the investor class. They got cash, they got money, they got things to do. We don't. And so the average person suffers. How many of you are living paycheck to paycheck? Answer that. Think about it for a minute. How many of you are living paycheck to paycheck? I bet you it's a lot more than you think. I bet you it's a lot more than we think. And because of that, we're desperate. We as people are desperate. So what does this AMI, greening the dollar, ending the Fed, frickin' 100 years down the road do for us today? Not a goddamn thing. Doesn't do anything for us really to begin with, because people just don't know what the hell the Federal Reserve does, and that alone is a shameful thing. But we've got real issues today. And we don't even need to be Dem-N or Dem-Exit. We can just be regular progressives, real progressives outside the system making demands. You don't have to be suckling into a party to make demands. I can make demands of a Republican, and I'm not Republican. I can make demands of a Democrat, and I'm not in there. I'm not a Green. I'm an independent. And folks, we can make those demands. Yeah, and you know what? Let me put this comment up here for those of you watching. This is a sad truth. Most Greens don't even have a clue what AMI is. Most Greens don't even have an idea of what AMI is. But yet AMI is what is the entire underpinning of the Green Party platform. Folks, I've talked to them in New Jersey. They didn't bother showing up for my talk. That is extremely depressing. It's extremely depressing. And there's a guy named Jason right here. Watching an angry guy with a bloated head on Facebook is making true progress for the left. And yet this guy is sitting here watching me. What does that tell you about his life? What does it tell you about who he is as a person? Thank you, Jason, for telling us all who you are, my friend. Good job, buddy. Anyway, because they don't have an answer for what they're doing today, because they don't have that answer, we suffer as a result of that. And that's not okay. That's not okay at all. Ask yourself, look at your kids. Do you got 50 years to end the Fed, green the dollar, freaking get 100 million different people to think completely differently? No, you don't have that time. We don't have that time. Put your thinking cap on. If the Green Party wants to be successful, it's going to have to get rid of people like this cat over here that's mouthing off in my live stream. Guys like him that have things to say that don't understand economics, but they sit there and hijack things and run around to other people's streams and bloviate. That's not leadership, but yet he's on the national committee. Why is that? Why is that? Why would that be? I don't know. You'll have to ask them. Maybe they got different priorities than the rest of us. But they don't show up when you go to do at the Green Party annual meeting. I'm sitting there, got a room full of people. Looked around. They weren't coming in. They didn't want to hear it because they're AMI. And therefore, the Green New Deal, it's only going to happen if they leverage modern monetary theory. Otherwise, we got to wait a million years. It's just pie in the sky. And I'm the guy that's going to call it out because I want them to be successful, and they can't be successful as it stands right now. So anyway, with that, I'm Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives. Hoping you guys have a great night and be safe. And remember, if you want to actually have this bold Green New Deal, you got to fight for it. And you ain't getting there using the AMI nonsense to end the fractional reserve system that doesn't exist and hasn't existed since 1933. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you, Periscope.